India. 1.4 billion people, 28 states, 22 official languages. India is not only one of the fastest growing economies in the world, but also the most populated country on planet Earth. Besides these superlatives, India faces a massive waste management challenge, as there is no sufficient waste management system in place, and plastic and other waste often ends up in the environment. The sad truth is, nearly nobody is interested in recycled plastic waste. It's too expensive and virgin plastic is too cheap. Despite these challenges, there are many individuals and organizations who are advocating for change with passion, conviction, and perseverance. But what does their work look like? And what exactly needs to change in the sector? In October 2023, 2 of our colleagues traveled to India to meet all the people without whom our work as WILDPLASTIC would not be possible.
My name is Maiju, and I am responsible for the global partnerships and sourcing at WILDPLASTIC.
I'm Ronja from WILDPLASTIC, and I'm responsible for brand management and communications.
The informal sector in India is highly fragmented. Therefore, we visited different places, from a small waste collection community to an Indian state with a rather organized waste management system. We started our trip in Mumbai, where we met with our partner, Gemcorp.
My name is Vikas Chhajer. I'm the Chief Sustainability and Strategy Officer for the group at Gemcorp.
I'm Siddhant Karnani. I'm the Sustainability and Strategy Manager for Gemcorp Recycling and Technologies Private Limited.
Gemcorp has been working within recycling for 4 years now and has meanwhile established its activities across India.
Right now, we have close to 40 collection centers in India where we have provided our own baling machines. We are ensuring all the social security and the hygienic measures that we have provided. And additionally, we have 4 plastic recycling units, extrusion units.
Waste collection, as well as sorting, is mostly done by hand in India, because it is, until today, the most efficient way. Working in the sector is stigmatized, and it's physically hard work. The main issues for all organizations working in the sector are usually working in a compliant way and finding buyers who are willing to pay the real cost for the material.
The Indian waste management industry is completely informal. It's completely based on cash. So when we introduce those taxes in the value chain, the taxes from both sides have to be borne by us. That increases our premium to the entire material. And we cannot sell that material locally because we can't be competitive at a local level.
Recycled plastic is not attractive. Recycled wild plastic even less so. This is not an Indian problem, but a global one, as virgin plastic is still much cheaper everywhere.
It should be circular. But how to make it circular? And why only plastics? I think that's the biggest question. Why don't we talk about metals? Why don't we talk about paper? Because they are self-financed. For the metal industry, the waste of metal is actually an input of material. For paper industry, the waste material for paper is an input for them. For petrochemical industry, which produces plastics, plastic waste is not an input. So I think that's the gap that we need to bridge because it's not self-financed by the industry.
Plastic is not just a thing which you can ban it out. Plastic is a product which will be utilized throughout the lifespan and for the coming years. So banning is not a solution and recycling is only the solution.
One of the biggest challenges of working in the waste management sector is making sure that the working conditions of waste collectors are improved. To understand the challenges in depth, we visited Conserve India, an NGO from Delhi.
I'm Kanika Ahuja, and I've been a director at Conserve for the last 7 years. And Conserve India is an old organization. It started about 25 years ago. So actually, Conserve India was founded by my parents. And Anita Ahuja is still the president of the non-profit, and she's very active.
Conserve India has been running various projects, always focusing on close collaboration with the people in the sector. Together, we visited a waste collector community of 35 families in Noida, Uttar Pradesh.
So our project in Noida has been operational since 2019, and today they're quite successfully running as a micro-enterprise. And there is a group of collectors, segregators, who first access the waste. They do house-to-house collection on their bike carts and get the waste to the local community. There are women also involved who work in the local community who segregate that waste into different plastic types. The waste workers do have a lot of knowledge in touching and feeling the material to understand what would be recyclable in our particular machine and what is not.
Before Conserve India started working with the community, they were building their huts illegally and frequently had to change their location, which made their lives complicated and dangerous. But starting a project within the sector is not a quick task.
Working with waste, even after all these years, 20 years we've been working in waste, but it remains quite an infrastructural challenge as well as an ecosystem challenge, aligning all the stakeholders. Like we need various stakeholders from the municipality to come on board, to a local implementation partner, to the community we're working with, and then of course, making it a sustainable business.
A sector that more than 1.5 million people in the country are working in is not easy to change. As a company with more than 20 years of experience, Conserve India witnessed how it has changed over the years.
I think it's a very double-edged sword, the waste sector. And there have been a lot of improvements in some spaces, but it's pretty much the same also in some areas. And while the condition of the informal workers, for example, it remains the same. And while the waste sector has been developing more infrastructure, more privatization is happening, but it has negatively impacted the informal workforce that has been doing this work for over decades and generations. So going forward, it's necessary that these two worlds of the privatization, of companies building infrastructure, of municipalities playing a more active role in developing key infrastructural needs for circular companies to come forward. It's essential that we integrate the informal workforce with this so that they're not just left behind.
How do you educate people who never had access to a waste management system on the value of waste and the impact and importance of recycling? To understand this on a deeper level, we went to Momasar, a small village in Rajasthan, where Gemcorp, the partner that we had already met in Mumbai, implemented a functioning waste collection system within a village in India. In Momasar, a waste collection truck drives through the streets once a day and people can dispose of their household waste. This waste is taken to a small sorting plant where the plastic gets separated and bundled to produce benches and chairs for schools.
We have the proper waste collection system over there that the truck roams around, collect the waste from the villages, and that all waste are coming to a small recycling unit which is in the Momasar. It was quite challenging in the initial to make them understand that they have to segregate the waste and the plastic from the household waste. But we showed them what are the advantages of it and what are the prospects and the benefits of segregating the plastic, because there are cows and animals which roam around and they eat up those waste.
Now the streets are cleaner and the danger to cows and people has decreased. As the quantities of plastic are still small and it is difficult to find buyers, the system is not yet self-financing. After visiting Momasar and diving into a small village in India, it was time for us to reach our last destination in the south of the country, Kerala. Kerala is the only state in India with a literacy rate of over 90% and a state with a waste management system that could be called formal, where waste collectors are highly respected. The plastic collection in Kerala is done by a women's workforce, the Hari Kama Sena. They go door to door and cover every household on a monthly basis. The plastic they collect has to be cleaned by the consumers, and there is a monthly fee of 50 rupees per household and 100 rupees per shop. This is what the women get their income from. The system, started 14 years ago, was implemented by a local NGO and later taken over by the government. To deepen our understanding, we also met with one of the founders of Planet Earth, an NGO that played an important role in the implementation of this system.
My name is Sooraj Abraham. I am from Kerala, a small state in India.
Sooraj Abraham confirmed what everyone else had told us before on the difficulty of finding buyers for recycled plastics.
it depends a lot on virgin plastic. The price of virgin plastic decides the price of recycling plastic. Recycling is not an easy operation at all. There's a lot of dynamics that goes into it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. So everybody in the supply chain has to be compensated, whether it is people collecting the waste from the households, maybe people sorting it, maybe the transportation or freight charges. Everybody has to be compensated.
One thing we learned in all the places we visited in India is that it still needs further policy changes globally to create a system where recycled plastic can actually compete on a financial level with virgin plastic, and that the plastic crisis cannot be solved alone. It needs various perspectives, experiences, and international collaboration. And to achieve that, we need to tell more stories.
If we could also use this as a case study on how WILDPLASTIC and partners in India are collaborating to create a successful, intercontinental model, I think it is a very inspiring story to give out.
Because stories inspire.
Gemcorp and WILDPLASTIC have a unique combination. Gemcorp is collecting the waste in India, and the WILDPLASTIC understanding the importance of what the waste is collected.
Because stories can show us that we can all create change as communities, organizations, and as individuals.
The plastic crisis is not a national problem, even if we don't see it on our own doorstep. The plastic comes back to us anyways. The plastic is everywhere. It's in the oceans, it's on the land. So we have to find solutions that work for each and every one of us, and we have to find these solutions together.
Plastic crisis is a huge topic, and sometimes, actually quite often, I am personally quite overwhelmed by it, and I'm thinking, what are we actually doing for it? But at the same time, I remind myself that there are millions of answers, there are millions of things that we can do, and WILDPLASTIC is doing one of them. We are part of a massive ecosystem, and with our work, I hope that we can make that tiny contribution to it and also encourage more people to be aware and make better choices.
There is a lot of WILDPLASTIC on land and in rivers, as well as in the oceans around India. Our common challenge is to ensure that no more plastic enters the environment, and that WILDPLASTIC gets recognized for what it is, a resource.